of the VCS. I am Mabinogi. Will be the host today, and with me is Quincy. How are you doing,
Yeah.
Quincy?
Hello, also from my side. I'm doing just fine. A little bit tired, but that's just how life is at the moment. As hopefully not everything is on fire in Germany as we speak, because there have been some alarms going around from the last minute or so, and I kind of got distracted by that. But I shouldn't get too distracted from the VCS, of course, because we have two banger matches today on our hands, with Saigon
Yep.
Buffalo versus Team Flash being the first one.
Yeah, and after that, we will have the fight for second place. Wales versus Cerberus. Both took it to Gum. Couldn't quite make it, though, but now they're going to fight for second. But of course, yes, before that, Flash and Saigon Buffalo. And these two teams are sort of fighting to stay out of that relegation zone, that seventh place spot. Flash has one series win on the board. Buffalo has 0. So, Quincy, how have these teams been looking? Are you scared for the Buffalo at this point, or do you think they can turn it around?
I think yes, both things of those. I mean, I am scared, but I also think they can turn it around. That's basically what I want to say, because they have lost every series so far, but they also have lost every series to one so far, and they also played some stellar teams like Cerberus, who have been looking quite good recently. They played loss against SPTC, who are also like one of the stronger teams, is what we would expect at least. And maybe something like playing against Camille support isn't something that can happen, right? Especially early in the split, where you can lose to teams like these. But they also, like, in every defeat they've shown some promise. And Team Flash, also not looking on the stronger end so far, is one team that they could beat. Gareth Thezo, Team Flash in their own right also looked quite good in some losses, especially in the first one against Gam, where they lost 2-0, but they definitely looked to be in control of the first game.
And not to mention, they were able to take a game off Cerberus, which is looking like a pretty decent feat to do. And while we're coming across these two, where's the matchup you really think will tip this in either side of the balance?
I think there's like two cross-map matchups we'll need to focus on, because on the one hand you have Yoshino on Team Flash, which is like a very strong top laner, maybe the best performing top laner so far in the split, against Hasmet, who has been struggling as of lately, and especially internationally not looking quite good. But gotta say, so international competition gotta be a bit stronger than what the VCS usually offers. And on the other side we have Shogun and Taki, stellar bot lane definitely, to say the least. They play against Puddin and Soa, and gotta say, in general, Puddin has looked amazing, but
Oh, this is the alarm
what
gone
the
off again.
hell? It just phone is annoying me. I just gotta throw this one out. Either way,
Yeah, but I need it.
where was my point?
Puddin
Fake
good?
emergency just distracted me from Pullen and Soa, who also in the not the most stellar names, especially. I mean, Soa we named from Zodiac, we know that one, but
No, Sora
Pullen
was Arte.
look quite good. Yeah, he was Soa was Arte, yeah. Oh, Arte, not Zodiac, yeah.
So
Mix
yeah,
it one up. And Zodiac is still playing on another team. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't be on both teams, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think on the top side, Yoshino has been, his stats aren't the most impressive realistically, but he has been one of these players. The way he's played around top lane and he's played with this side lane pressure has been really impressive. It hasn't reflected in the stats. He's not getting massive. He's getting good leads in the mid to late game, but he's not like crushing lane, getting solo kills sort of thing. But he's neutralizing the other top laner so effectively. We saw that in the Secret series. Hero basically didn't exist because of how well Yoshino was using that pressure. And yeah, and I on the flip side to that, Hasmed has been kind of absent. That their best performing top laner is Sion, because that's the best they can get out of him, it feels.
Absolutely, yeah, and especially Yoshino. I mean, yes, against Hero, who was also like not one of the worst top laners in the last split, he absolutely destroyed him. Right, he went like he bet his Renekton with Fiora, then Hero picked Gragas into the Renekton from Yoshino, which is not even a good matchup for Renekton, by the way. And Yoshino still just absolutely smashed him. He smashed him so hard that Hero went for the full tank item build on the Gragas, which is something that you do not want to play in the current Gragas meta landscape. And yeah, that's just how disgustingly one-sided it was. And Hasmet definitely needs to step up, otherwise the top lane might just crumble.
Yeah, and well, before if we'll go on any further, we will quickly bring up predictions for this series. I have gone for. I've got the Flash Hopium alive. I'm full on with Team Yosh 2-1 to keep the Saigon's tradition going. But do you want to run us through this 2-0?
I can. I mean, it's mostly just hopium and copium and all the other buzzwords for the Saigon Buffalo. I gotta say, just this team shows promise over and over again. They always lose to one, and they also play like one of the worst teams right now. I think Team Flash in their own right can, of course, win the series. Also, like a victory for them is not like completely out of the window, but I gotta say, Saigon Buffalo, the potential is there, and I think they at some point need to deliver. And I think today is a day where they can show up for sure. I mean, the players still definitely in their own right have what it takes to do so.
All right, so Scrancy is hoping for the step up. I'm absolutely happy with that too. So we're going to see a quick look at the standings. We see there Flash and Saigon Buffalo sitting at the bottom, trying to get things back on track. Flash have had a bit of a rough schedule. They've played Cerberus, they've played Gum, and those, as we see, that's 1 and 2. So their losses feel a little bit more reasonable as they are looking to fight across the rest of the lower tier teams.
Yeah, and
Buffalo, they have struggled.
Yeah, who would have guessed it, right? That Garm is leading the tables before Zero. I mean, yeah. The top team of the most recent years for sure. I mean, it's the one team that everyone in the world basically knows in Saigon Buffalo. We expect more for them, certainly, right? We actually kind of expected them to be like maybe even ahead of Garm initially because they didn't know roster changes while Garm did, and Garm lost their one of their star players as a support, and they have looked worse without their main support in B in the last summer at least. So we would have expected to see Saigon Buffalo to be at least like pick up some match wins, right? I mean, they just pick games right now. I mean, 1-2 in every series, kind of disappointing for them. And I gotta say though, every series they lost, it was kind of close. I mean, the Cerberus one wasn't that close. I gotta remember from the top of my head, but in general, I think this team is looking way better than the score really suggests.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of lack of a clear identity for the side of Buffalo. They've 2 of their best games have been with AP farming junglers, a Nidalee game from BNJ, and a Talia game from Guri. These games looked really good. They looked really strong, but I'm not sure. But this coaching staff hasn't seemed to have settled on what they really want to do with this team. The jungle situation seems a little bit fraught. I'm not sure if we're going to see more substitutions coming through. Froggies looked a little bit rough. Top lanes looked a bit rough, and I believe they have substitutes in those positions. So maybe we start to see some of the team swaps come through. They have Richard in mid lane. They might not have a top laner, but they've been struggling in certain key positions, and they've shown willingness to substitute. So hopefully, we can see that light of fire under the solo laners and get them to step back up to the form we expect from them. This is our other international team that everybody knows. People know the Buffalo. It's the same team, different coach, but shouldn't expect the drop-off to be this dramatic.
That's actually a good point you really addressed there. I mean, 2 good points. One thing was, of course, the jungle situation with them subbing out BNJ and bringing in Gui, who had one stellar performance, as you just now mentioned, and also them losing their coach. And I mean, Wen was one of the more renowned coaches of the VCS for sure, and his new team is also looking good. So maybe he actually was kind of the glue that sticks the team together, so to say, so that they really are a functioning machine. And now they just kind of are, and they are just 5 decent players who can somewhat play together, but not really that much to really bring the win home. For now, it at least looks like that. But I think we don't need to overreact that much on that regard, as we now head into the draft, and many AD carries being taken away. 5 of them if we count the Ashe, but we all know, right? The current meta, Ashe is a support ban.
Yeah, 5 AD carries, 5 marksmen at the very least, and it will still be Guri starting for the side of Buffalo. We saw a good Talia draft. I wonder if we're going to see things play out similarly this time around, or if he's going to find himself back on the Gragas where he didn't look so hot. But you're going to have to see how their draft plays out. Still looking for that first pick, and it will be just 6. We'll round it out with a Jhin. Nobody wants to play marksman.
And they pick Aphelios first, so 7 being taken away. And I think we are on the new patch, because otherwise we would have like, at least Maokai or Elise being considered in some situation, and they just kind of aren't so far. So I think we must be in the new patch, and Gui's still playing, so BNJ still riding the bench as Saigon Buffalo. Their approach seems to be that Gui really shows more promise than him, at least in the more recent times. So for the side of Team Flash, do they really lock in Sejuani blind first? I would be very surprised about it, but they actually do, which to me inclines that it's very likely just be Fook wants to jungle Sejuani. He has played it before against Team Secret, and that game he looked, I would say, okay to good. I mean, he wasn't the hard carry of the team, but he's Sejuani. How can he really be? And I mean, him enabling his team on this pick is something that Team Flash definitely is to look out for.
Yeah, I imagine I would like to see things like, yep, the Nautilus makes sense, grabbing up a support now. They're gonna have to probably lean into their AD carry pick soon, or maybe Puddin will have to be pushed onto something a little bit more unusual in sort of LCK Challenger and such. We've seen Cho'Gaths and Vegas in the bot lane, but
hopefully
if
not.
the ADC bans keep it up, might move that direction. And
I'm not sure if I would trust Puddin. Puddin is a rookie AD carry, right? I'm not sure if I can trust him to pull one of the out of the box picks against Husband and against Shogun and Taki, so to say. So they're not in the jinx now. Otherwise, I would have said, I mean, if so many AD carries are banned, just pick something that works weak side. Just pick Ashe, pick Jhin, but they are banned as well.
Welcome back to spring 2022, where we get Aphelios versus Jinx again and again. But I like this Talia lockup from Buffalo. They can swap that between a couple of lanes. They don't show too much, whereas Flash, they've pretty much shown where they want to go. Technically, we have seen the Sejuani flex top in a couple of times across the world, but we have a high chance of that going jungle. So now we see where the bans will fall. Yoshino being targeted makes a lot of sense, and moving to take away some jungle picks, some of these early aggression junglers like Jarvan.
Yeah, looking to be the case, as Jarvan's being taken away, so there's still some jungle bans being focused for SGB, which tells me that Team Flash at least expects Froggy to play the Talia, but we just now addressed it, right? It could just still be Guri's Talia. He has looked very stellar on this one performance he had on this pick, and with Renekton being taken away, this might just also mean that Sejuani is actually prepared for the top lane, as Renekton would be one pick that kind of works here, but with the Jace looking, that chance is kind of getting smaller and smaller. Gonna say that Jace could still be flexed to the mid lane on the side of Jane, and
Yes.
let's wait and see how that works out. I'm not sure if you want Jace against Talia though, because if you really do the full all-in combination with Jace, you have to inevitably travel through the Unraveled Earth from the Talia, and that must hurt a lot.
Yeah, I think this is mostly just to sort of keep the options open, make Saigon show their hand, but yeah, it doesn't seem like an ideal matchup into the mid lane if it is that Talia. But Cassante, and if this is Sion, that's a Sion. That's a
Wait,
that's a
it's mid lane
Cassante
side.
mid. That's a
No,
I
that's
think
that's
So
side mid
Chovy-
against Jace.
Tovi has played Cassante mid recently, so that's what's leaning me towards that. But it could go either way, really.
It looks like Jace mid, of course, on the side of Team Flash now with the Gwen being locked in, and I would expect Sion to be matched against the Jace, because Sion has historically been very good against Jace, because he just doesn't die to the poke and can just farm his W stacks up and then just be relevant in this way. I mean, I remember this famous interview from Khan, who was the best Jace in 2017, where he was saying the Jace Sion matchup feels like pooping blood, and that's something that the Jace certainly doesn't enjoy. So I would expect it just to be the more conventional way of Sion mid lane and Cassandra top lane. Gotta tell you, even that doesn't sound that conventional, right?
It's not super conventional, no. It sort of brings. Froggy has played Sion mid in the past, I believe. I'm gonna quickly check that, but.
He probably did. It sounds like a Froggy pick. I mean, Cassandra kind of doesn't. But also, it's Froggy. He tends to do those weird pickups in general, and Cassandra would definitely fit that bill.
No. Okay, he hasn't. Oh, he's played a Sion game, but he did also do a small stint top lane, so I can't figure that out for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where these tanks land. Either way, you expect the matchup against the Jace is the one that is going to go a lot better than the one against the Gwen, so might just be a case of who you feel can perform better. I almost want to see Cassante on Froggy, just out of who's been playing a little bit better this split. and
Mhm.
Scion works a little bit better if he's put behind, better than Cassante does. So that would be my reasoning on a Cassante mid lane. Assuming
Gotta
it's
say though,
Jace mid lane.
yeah, aside from that, both of those, as you kind of implied with that, are not that good against Gwen. So if Yoshino has a great game, I think this might just be doomsday for the side of Sagan and Buffalo. Gotta say that this draft looks very well rounded for the side of Team Flash in general. I mean, maybe having a bit more frontline would be better for them, but the Sejuani Nautilus might just be enough for them. And here we go into the game. It is actually the side mid, as I hinted at earlier.
Okay.
And, yeah. Sagan Buffalo with that draft, I mean, this Gwen will just be a late game menace if she just goes there unchecked. So I think Sagan Buffalo kind of being on the clock in this game.
Yeah, okay, we're seeing a lot of... we're seeing Comet Tech coming out from Froggy, wanting to try and poke Jane out a little bit. Interesting to wonder which sort of build Jane will go for. Looks... Runes would suggest Eclipse, and against double tanks, I can't say the extra armor shred would be a miss, but we're gonna have to see how this pans out and likely no gore drink to come through as... Alright, Gory's gonna get off to a fun start. These raptor clears are coming increasingly more common, and both sides sort of just red and through.
Yeah, just kind of happening here as Gory is starting on his red buff. So he's pathing in towards Hasmet, who is on the Cassante. Maybe some early game gank shenanigans could work out against the Gwen to really get the ball rolling for the Cassante pickup, as if he actually gets to have a lead against the Gwen, he can definitely still destroy her around the level 6, level 11 mark, and this might just be where Sagan Buffalo is headed towards. And Gwen also can't really evade the ganks very well. She's a flashless champion, relies on a dash, and Talia makes dashing all that way harder, so might just be one angle for them to really get the ball rolling. As bot lane, Shogun and Taki on the Aphelios Minato matchup are probably kind of fine. Goey, however, is lurking towards maybe early gank, or at least just to secure the scuttle over there.
Okay, bit of a slightness timing out of Sora there, and the trade will be good from Taki. But yeah, Gory's just sort of lurking around, wanting to focus on this bot side, but should encounter... Oh, he's coming in first. Sora already ignited, but should be able to just get away quickly. The W will land, but now Shogun is sort of trapped on these traps, but it doesn't matter because First Blood does go down. And Guri, just the patience pays off. Fook goes for the full clear of his top side and can't get down in time.
Yeah, cheese gang kind of working around for the side of Sagan Buffalo, and Flash didn't expect that gang, as neither did I. Here we see again how it played out. Guri waiting on for a long time. Flash from Taki for the handshake. Unraveled Earth being there, as well as all the damage coming through from the fitted volley, from the Caligram, from Shogun to really have that range to finish it off. And Shogun rewards himself with the first blood, or gotta say, Guri rewards his AD carry with that first blood. So at least Sagan Buffalo up for a good start yet again.
Able to scale off the buff, and now Taki might
Taki
be
no flash.
in a bad position. The stun from the Permafrost will come through. There should be at least one picked up. The Ignite is ticking. That will finish. And now Shogun flashes forward for Fook. He picks it up. Now he is low. Can he continue? Flashes the slicing shelf. And Jane is going to blow up Shogun. Now Guru's trying to trade back on the pudding. He will get that too. But can Froggy chase down Sora? Guri is following afterwards. Can he land a red buff? He's got that extra speed. No, it will be a 2 for 2 overall. And that still kind of works out just fine. Actually, 2 for 3.
2 for 1.
No, 2 for 2. 2 for 2. Who can put in, yeah.
Oh, actually, yes, yeah. Yeah, counting is hard. Either way, 2 for 2. And I think that was kind of lucky for side of Sagan Buffalo, even because why is Taki over there? I mean, he's a flashless Renata level 2. He can easily just get mauled down by Sejuani and Nautilus, which aren't really the highest damage leaders in the general sense. And now forcing Shogun to really go for this flash out the queue to get Fuquan going. But at least that was at least finally played by his side, as Jane rolls around with his damage. Puddin now dying to Gui, who in general just performed in this Talia together. I gotta say, I mean, this is the second game. He is a rookie jungler for them, replacing Bean J for now. And every time he gets Talia, he just gets a good start and shows some nice mechanics on the champion.
I might have to start seeing it hit the bench, I believe, because the 2 games out of 2 he's performing excellently. And we're seeing small victories, hold that thought, because now Jane is in such a dangerous position. He still has flash, but there is no point. Sashing Chef lands, has another kill to Guri, and This kill at distribution is working out beautifully for SGB. 2 onto the Talia, 2 onto the Aphelios. Both carries having the time of their lives right now, and Pudding can't get involved. He has 0 kill participation because he was just too low to enter that fight in mid in the river.
Yeah, he was, and that Froggy, yeah, with the wave close to the turret, can easily bait Jane to really fall for this gang. Yeah, Jane wanted to get this wave under the turret to reset the wave state, and he's in a very awkward spot for that reason alone, right? He just tanked the decimating smash. Gui is just there to say thank you, get the kill. I wonder if Gui just now goes for like Dark Seal, Mage Eyes, this kind of road to really get all these kills going on the Talia, or if he just goes a standard full AP heavy item build. He could just go for either of those. Not level 6 yet though, so he can't just easily dive the bottle here. But there's another champion level 6, that Froggy.
Yeah, he just says a little quick hello and Spider not away. Fook is in the area, so maybe if Guri oversteps, they could look to turn. But this dragon should be the domain of Saigon Buffalo. Jane has to be a little bit careful. Froggy's gonna walk straight into him.
Yeah, but should just be Saigon Buffaloes to take. Jane still has Flash, but it's just not a good fight for Flash to take. I think the positioning is not there.
Guri is quite low, so maybe. But Fook can't access the Dragon. Froggy tanking and blocking them off very well. That, what looked a little bit interesting is what did Sora actually hit? I'm not sure. What did Sora hit? What did that hook hit? His hook just stopped.
I don't know. Nautilus is science. I have no other explanation for that either way. Saigon Buffalo, we wanted to the Drake, but it was really just the result of the pressure they played earlier, right? With Froggy going in with the unstoppable onslaught to force the bot lane from Team Flash out. They lost positioning and HP bars on that regard. And then, yeah, it looked kind of closer than it actually should have been with Goey dropping so low. And there was like a little bit of an angle for maybe Jane just flashing into his face and just straight up killing him so he can't smite the Drake. But that didn't happen. Saigon Buffalo get this first tech stack Drake, and this they are for a good start. Goey, however, he wants to dive this, I think.
Yeah, flash for a flash onto the Nautilus. That actually works out slightly better for Sora given the Hex Flash capability, but Guri is just camping this bot side. He wants to put the herd in. Good hook will land, and the follow-up, the bailout is on, and he will get out scot-free. And that's a lot of tower damage down. Puddin really wishing he was 6 right now. Oh, he hits it. Rocket goes out. It's not quite enough. And Froggy was just there for the moral support. And Jane, just calling me, I suppose.
Yeah, and I wonder if Gui intentionally tanked that hook because he knew like the Bayrod was coming and they actually finished this kill in time. It could have been intentional. Gonna say though, I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt on that point. I think he just kind of face tanked the hook because, yeah, kind of, maybe we were having a little bit of a brain fart. Either way, if that clean dive played out, the wave was in, 3 versus 2, the turret not really doing too much, and with all the damage that SGB has, they can easily pick up that kill on the flashless Nautilus, who is less tanky than he looks for sure. With Hasmet, however, in this grand matchup, not struggling that much. I mean, he's down a few CS. The Cassante maybe should not be in the first few levels, but in general, he's holding his own good enough for his bot side to carry, and for especially his jungler to carry him this game.
Yeah. Gwen, not the strongest laner, so being a little bit ahead of the Cassante is just fine. You're looking for that scaling anyway. Puddin has decided to abandon the bot side because there's always a Talia in his face down there, but this gives the option for Aphelios to just clean up the plates. Nice to see this rotation, or rather the lack of from Saigon Buffalo, just to make sure. Because, I mean, you've got Aphelios. You can just hard push, Rift Herald will go down, and plates should be traded across the board to get Pudding back into the game.
Yeah, and especially like with this new nerfed Herald charge, it's probably better for the side with the platings going around, right? Because you don't really get 2 guaranteed plates anymore, and it's just a very huge push coming out from Shogun and Taki to really get more out of this bot lane. 3 plates are already done. They are a little bit ahead in CS, as maybe they dive Hasmet though for the consolation prize.
The all-out is available. There's 4 men. Can he get a good all-out to just turn it around? No, he doesn't really even try. But hello, Froggy, time for round 2. Can you dive a second tank? That's probably not going to happen. They're still lurking. They're still hanging around. And Yoshino is
this absolutely will happen.
Wait,
Sign without ult is diveable.
It's stifled. The glacial prison will miss, and zombie form will do his best. Puddin has to be a smidgen careful, but now they've got 2 kills. Now they can drop the Rift Herald. Maybe. Then there we go. And that's gonna be traded on the bot side overall, but
that's the thing though. I mean, they had this bot side push anyway, and they could just not die on top side, right? I mean, especially Foggy, right? I mean, Hasper I kind of understand, but he doesn't want to play against the fully stacked wave and just drop it for nothing because he could potentially get dived, and he thinks he can outplay it with the Orlet, and I think for the Cassandra that's like a somewhat reasonable expectation, but for the Ultra side to stick around for that, and yeah, as soon as Foggy was in on that play and didn't really get a good initiation initially, then he was just food for the Center Team Flash, and this could have just been a huge win for Center Second Buffalo. Now it's just kind of, yeah, not almost even, I would say. However, at least they got the bot lane first turret, and that's still nice money funneled into Shogun, and maybe that's just within the calculations for Second Buffalo to sacrifice those 2 deaths just for the sake of getting Shogun ahead. I mean, maybe it will just be working out fine.
There's a bit more gold passed around, so I think Gold Valley should be relatively even. Husmed now in trouble as Fook heads top lane again, but should be able to dash away easily, has used the all-out. This top lane should crack eventually, going over to Yoshino. So overall, Flash may be coming out ahead once this tower falls in gold, but the concentration is much more focused for SGB, landing entirely onto Shogun, and getting this Felios ahead is absolutely a dream come true. And I'm just looking and seeing a lot of damage coming out and from this Aphelios, and just thinking, well, how do you get to this man? How do you dive into an Aphelios with 2 tanks standing in front of him and a Talia to drop the Unraveled Earth?
And then you probably need to kill him again because he will get bailouted by Taki. I mean, that's just a very hard job for the Center Team Flash. And I think that the 5v5 is kind of, I don't want to say over for them, but it's definitely not looking easy for sure. With their fields also having decent tools to protect himself. But he has Flash, he has Gale Force, he has Cleanse, and then necessarily, depending on the weapon, he can also just go for the Gravitum Snare to have like a bit more protection for himself. And for the Center Team Flash, I think their best banking on would currently just be Yoshino on the side lane to just destroy Hasmet over there. I mean, he's at least ahead in CS right now. He never died in this game, so he should be like a bit ahead in experience with him just now completing Riftmaker and his cooldown boosts. So he's at least getting juiced up decently, as well as Jane, who can maybe work well with his poke item build on the side of Jace. Not going Godrika, but going Eclipse instead, which I like much more. But in general, it will just be so hard to deal with Shogun in this game. And for Shogun, of course, on the other side, if he chokes it, it might just cost Saigon Buffalo another game and another series. But if he doesn't, I mean, if he just performs up to his standards, I mean, we just know what this man can really do. This could just net Saigon Buffalo another first game win.
Yeah, that could be the case. Puddin stepping up, has to be careful. You can see he's hesitant. He doesn't know where Buffalo are. He's scared of being caught out by a wall. And on the other side, and I'm gonna bully Fook again because he's building the Warmog's Rush, which I remain entirely unconvinced by, especially in a composition like this. You're not being poked. You're trying to all in. Go be an actual tank. Don't just build health that comes back, because you're actually just squishy in that situation. I don't love it. I think it's a bad read on this composition. But alas, haha, funny number go up with the Warmogs team.
I mean, to be fair, Goi on the Talia will poke him quite a bit, but it's also like the Lian with Talia, and this just is something yeah, exactly. Like the Lian against HP stacking looks kind of decent, and you shouldn't really stack HP against the Lian if you see it. So maybe he actually fumbles away from this Warmogs Wash as he's currently going for, and not just sits on Bami Cinder, but actually finishes Sunfire first, which I could see here going, and just going for another HP Mythic. I mean, there's some good options, right? There's Radiant Virtue existing, there's Jackshow potentially, there's Heartsteel. I mean, Heartsteel probably not good in the jungle, but you get the point in general. Yeah. Just don't go Warmogs first. I don't like it either. I mean, I like it sometimes, but not against this. But if the Jace would be on the enemy team, I would much more understand it. But Talia alone as a poke, I think just doesn't justify it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to heal you up, and you can you could have gone for the Radiant Virtue and just helped Yoshino be that assassin in the backside to just try and kill Shogun, who is he's candidate number one. He's the full focus of both teams. Keep Shogun alive, because he is the main damage dealer for Saigon Buffalo. If he lives, Buffalo wins. If he dies, Flash wins. So, clustering around this Rift Herald, lots of damage going down into Froggy, but it doesn't really seem to matter now.
Or maybe a good angle for Froggy to ult.
Good poke onto Guri, and Froggy continuing to get poked out as well. Nothing much really being returned onto Flash.
I mean, does he really? I mean, Froggy gets poked, but he doesn't really, like, the HP bar isn't really moving, right? I mean,
yeah, especially compared to Puddin, who just ate a hell of a lot of damage coming out from Shogun. And with that, Buffalo just gets the Rift Herald. They can't contest without Puddin. And Pudding is going to be so delayed in this game. He's building his Zeal item right now. He has to get a Lord Dominic's regard sooner rather than later. Oh, it's going to be a long time for Infinity Edge for this fella.
Definitely so. I mean, the damage is done in little sense. Puddin just being looked at funny, and he just loses 90% of his HP bar. Froggy eating poke after poke, and his HP bar moves by like 20%. Just ultimately means Saigon Buffalo wins the control over this Rift Herald area, gets the Rift Herald itself. It's just now is instantly spawned as the Ocean Drake spawns right now, and Saigon Buffalo looking for a good early mid-game push now to really get also this Drake Soul stack recognition stacking. But first of all, they just zone them off in the mid lane. Just get the turret. Yeah, Herald Charge needs to be denied, and this will just be the third Drake for them. No way, no chance in hell that Team Flash can contest this. I would assume, but Saigon Buffalo taking the time.
They're taking the time. I think they're looking for the fight. They want the fight rather than just the free dragon and no excuse to get at Team Flash. Puddin has to walk the long way around, but without a flank from Yoshino, or maybe even Jace, it just seems like unwinnable for the side of Saigon Buffalo. Dragon not started yet. Yoshino trying to clear out some of the pit, but the poke constantly blocked by Jane. Taki lurking, looking for that ultimate to wipe over Team Flash. Now Yoshino finally looking for the flank, but he'll be spotted. Dragon started up. Are they going to turn on to Yoshino? Looks like it. This gives the opening for Team Flash to go for the Drake.
Saigon Buffalo's way too sloppy. They gave so much time for that Team Flash. This isn't really necessary. But now husband is onto
all out, going out the top side. But now they've all gone in, and Yoshino just snipes Guri on the back side. It doesn't get the bailout. Now Froggy's just walking forward. They're not really able to do that much, but the jungler is dead. They can finish off this dragon, just pick it up. Fook, one, needs to land the smite. They can't quite get it in. Now Yoshino is doing so much damage, but the Luciferus just kills them all.
Shoko just destroys everyone and saved this fight for the side of Saigon Buffalo. Gori was picked up. It was the whole build set up for the side of Saigon Buffalo with them just giving way too much time for the Flash, which they didn't even deserve to get. Yeah, Flash, just a replay. Here we see again Yoshi and Has met each other on the side lane, but here we see the snipe coming up on the side of Jane. Larsen actually going to the side of Puddin, and the excited Jinx, very, very scary for the prospect of Saigon Buffalo. They let the Drake reset, so buy a little bit of time for themselves, as of course Sova also got picked off. So now it's a 4v4, but now the Drake being low, it should just be Fukwan's Drake, but Shogun just hates everything. He just kills Shogun, kills Yoshino as well, kills the Drake as well, and Shogun just the king of the game so far.
The decision making, the target selection there from Team Flash did not want. They could have finished the Drake, but they wanted to go for everything, and they got none of it. Okay, now Buffalo on to Soul Point. Fairly happy. Only 1,000 gold ahead if my pixels will come into view. I wish to see. Yep, about 1,000. 1K. About 1,000 gold. But despite it only being 1K, it just feels like it's SGB's map. Everything belongs to them because they just park Froggy and Husman in front of Shogun, and it feels like they can't do anything on Team Flash.
Yeah, the setup is just great. Like, Shogun is just so well fed and well protected. But we just said earlier, right? Froggy just zoning off the poke, Taki just being there for the bailout, he himself being decently fed and can peel himself. And if Yoshino ever dares to like threaten the backline, Husband is just nope, all out. I just take you on a trip and at least just buy time for my ADC to just destroy everyone. And that's what happened in the last fight. Kind of ironic. Both teams, yeah, had like the chance to get the Drake, but wanted more. In the bigger scheme of things, it was just Shogun being the one to claim it all. As yeah, it was just kind of the greed of both teams being very visible there. And now SGB, I addressed it in the draft, right? They need to stop it a little bit. Only 1k ahead seems worrying in general, but with them being on Soul Point, with them having so good map control, being just in the position to really protect Shogun, I think they are just fine with that.
Yeah, Yoshino has definitely not been able to have quite the impact on the side lanes this game as he has in other series, but this time around, but Flash just trying their best to get things going, trying to keep the pressure onto Saigon, try and buy time for Pudding to build the items he needs to get, to get enough damage to actually do anything to Froggy and Husmet. They are just gonna stand in his way. And he needs that Lord Dominix, he needs that Infinity Edge. He is going to be so delayed on these items. He picked up a kill in that last fight, which is good. But now, just a bit of ping pong back and forth. Side lanes should, in theory, waves should be pretty easy to control from Team Flash, you'd feel. But, I mean, Froggy can clear a wave pretty quickly. The Cassante is losing out to Gwen, but that doesn't really matter in the scheme of things. They can swap those tanks around at any time if they feel like they need to.
I think you mentioned one very important point here. Puddin needs to be on 3 items to really be relevant. He just went Phantom Lens a second, which we don't like as much as I would expect. I think he needs either Infinity Edge or as what you suggest is LDR.
Rapid fire cannon.
That's right, but is it really like the standards we should hold these players to? I mean, he should just build like the best option or the second best option, depending on what he really wants on anyone on the team. Like Infinity Edge to really get Shogun killed, or LDR to get the frontline really melting, and he just kind of got neither of that one with the Phantom Dancer, so we don't like it as much. Gotta tell you, Shogun, he could have went IE second, but he went Bloodthirster instead, which is not as much of a damage spike, but the safety that Shogun has just so excellent, right? I mean, we address all these peeling tools that he himself and his teammates, and now as long as he gets to hit, he also heals back up a truckload, and also had this initial shield to really deal with the poke of Jane if he ever gets to land a bit of that. So the Bloodthirster being a good option for him. I also have seen like some LCK failures, even rush Bloodthirster as the first item, which is something that they at least can do. I mean, at the first item, you don't get mythic sets anyway. I mean, he went Gale Force BT, which is also a good option for him. And Soul is spawning very soon. I think Team Flash also getting very nervous, TPing into the mid lane, and maybe starting the fight right here.
They've got to pick onto Froggy. They're going to do a lot, but the seismic shove into the hostile takeover does more. So many low health bars. Fook will heal. Fook will heal that one up. Yoshino will not. The ultimate comes through, but is blocked by Taki. That should be Soul Point. They're just going to try and kill Husband again. He will die, but he's bought time for Buffalo to get towards that dragon. Maybe not enough time. Flash for flash. Jane gets away. Now Fook just needs to step back, let the Warmonks do its thing, and Buffalo just will concede. Sora is
why was
first,
Husband even there? It was a free pick for SGB, and Husband just went all out literally into 4 members. I mean, didn't even use his ultimate for that one, but this just being very cozy for them, just dropping the soul point, or they hit the soul point, but they could have gotten the soul right there. And SGB now, I think they are kind of desperate and panicking a little bit as they just now go for the Baron because they are very, very angry at what happened. You will see the replay again. Good initiation by the side of Team Flash initially. They almost kill Foggy, but the keyword is almost. Foggy still survived it. The initial engage doesn't really lead to any results, but that's a kill going out. And Husband, he just didn't move his... Why? Why? Don't do this. It's not necessary. This might have cost you the game.
Yeah, that's... Okay, I was thinking he's buying time for the dragon take, but the dragon hadn't spawned yet, so I don't know.
Yes, if he does this 10 seconds later, it's a good play, but he didn't, so he could have just walked with his team, and I think it's free soul. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good. That's not a good one coming from Harsmed, and we can just see there's a lot more damage coming out from the side of Team Flash in theory, but it's all being eaten up by these things. Now it's an Infinity Edge completed for Shogun. Puddin still working towards that third item. Once he gets that, maybe these picks become a little bit easier. But that's been a relief. That's 5 more minutes for Flash to keep building up Puddin. Keep this Jinx rolling. It's backing now. Should be able
And not
to
just Puddin, but also Yoshino, right? Yoshino on the sideline can just be his own threat and also just potential backline threat if Hasmet does funny things. I mean, he might just not be able to really pull Yoshino away from the fight. Yoshino now also on 2 items. Lord Dominic's is finished by the side of Puddin. He's on 3 items now, as well as Shogun. And Shogun was the one who's really played around it. He's not really that much ahead right now. Gotta say, there's still no IE on the side of Puddin, because Shogun doesn't need Lord Dominic's. He's fine either way. The Baron dance being started, TP being forced very early. But nobody should.
Fook is way too early. The hostile takeover from Taki rounds them up, and Pudding ends up taking down his own jungler. Now the fight's kicking off. Gwen doing so much in the background. These AoE crits. That is 1. That is 2. Jinx is excited. They're going to pick up Froggy for a 3rd. And Guri and Shogun just have to get out of there. It started off well, but they just let Puddin free hit. He has that Lord Dominic. So the front line is not as tanky as it used to be. And same with Yoshino. Wall will stop this tower from falling down, but that's a team fight win from Team Flash. And it's starting to look like they can win the team fights now.
Yeah, I mean, they just now did this here. We see in the replay again how it will played out. Baron being tanked by the side of SGB, Taki killing Fuquan, but at the end of the day, not really mattering too much at this death charge, just really zoning away Shogun from the fight. He just can't hit, while Puddin is free hitting, and Puddin rewarding himself with, I think, 3 kills in this fight. A lot of gold being funneled into his pocket, and yeah, ultimately Flash now regaining control of the game. Now, even in gold, they are still down the soul point, still down 2 drakes in general. I mean, just look at the ADC diff right now, or the non-ADC diff, so to say, as it should have been an ADC diff for the side of Shogun, but just now, I mean, Puddin is really putting in the numbers.
Yeah, Puddin just absolutely cracking, and it's just all of Team Flash really just putting in a lot of damage. It's, again, some of it is fraudulent because they've been wailing on tanks for a lot of the game, but it's starting to hurt now. We've seen 3 items coming out from Jane. That's a lot of armor shred now coming through with that Eclipse and Cyrilda's working towards the Infinity Edge from Pudding, and that Blighted Jewel coming in now from Yoshino. So there's these tanks with their armor. They're not going to do all that. Their magic resist rather aren't going to do all that much. And it's coming down to the battle of the ADCs. Who can survive the longest? Who can be involved? Because Shogun was simply not. He had green and red guns. They weren't effective. A Minito Dragon Flash trying to keep control of the spot side river. This bottom side of mid lane.
I don't know, SGB kind of struggling to really fight the angles, and the poke from Jane would now hurt again. He's on a very good spike for the side of a Jace with the Eclipse, more mana Cyrildas. Also just having this additional slow on top of the armor shred, Cyrildas is such a good item. But now, Foggy one's in.
Engage. Husman goes all in, picks up Sora, and now they're trading back. The cleanse from Puddin will ignore the hostile takeover. So that's cleanse forced from the Jinx, but in the end, it's Husman who has to recall. She has teleport, so it's not the end of the world. Sora at half health. That is a lot more. That's going to impact a lot more. And here comes the secondary engage. Froggy will flash away. Puddin taking a little bit of damage. Yoshino on the side, completely caught out of position, and now it's SGB with position in river. Can they get in? Jane poking from the mid lane. Puddin trying to make his way in, doing some damage onto Froggy. Hook will land onto Hasmed. And there's just so much damage. That's a hell of a lot of damage coming out from Jane onto the tanks. And Hasmed is instantly deleted. And this gives Flash the opening for the dragon. Now Guri can you steal it?
Maybe?
He's not gonna try too hard. It goes over to Yoshino.
I mean, he didn't have flash, so he didn't really have anything to try there, but it just now shows SGB is kind of desperate right now. I mean, both engages by the side of Froggy really coming out. Husband also trying his best to just force a pick right before the Draker, just do this engage to just lower the HP bars for the side of Team Flash to really get this positioning onto this Drake, but them not finding a kill. The Cassante from Hasmet just now falling to the side of Puddin, who just now gets another kill, should be close to his Infinity Edge, so he's fire 4-item power spike very, very soon, and Team Flash just keeps getting control. I mean, right now, the gold lead basically being 0, the Drake's also close to being equalized, and SGB might have just missed that time window to really finish off this game.
Yeah, they're taking. You can see them. They're on edge. You can see Buffalo. They're trying to fight very aggressively. Flash. They're playing it back. They're keeping their cool, and I think that's giving them the advantage they need. These tanks have been left a little bit to the wayside, especially this Cassante, not really being able to build up any advantage or build up any items. So they're just not as tanky as they need to be.
He's not even on 2 items, while Yoshino's on 3 full items right now, so it's definitely not looking too easy for him. And yeah, also, I mean, Gui had such a good early game, right? But he just went this low damage utility competency he maybe needed to buy, but he could have also went like the confident buy and just finished high AP items, but he went for Banshee's Veil, and now he's sitting, I think, on the competence of a Shadow Flame, and that's kind of late for Shadow Flame in general, and he also just failing to really have the impact he had in the early game, with Alia kind of falling off as he doesn't keep snowballing. And now Team Flash looking more stabilized, right? Yoshino could just be this sideline threat. But in the last few minutes, he actually managed to 5v5 quite decently up against the composition of SGB, as Hasmet doesn't really have any impact of the game, with him being 0-4 on the Cassante, not having 2 items. And SGB now yet again just trying to force this Baron, just force any reaction from the Flash, but they might just get away with it.
Oh, they are able to keep Fook out of the pit with that. I guess the Unraveled Earth.
Hostile takeover?
Ball splits it. Yoshino very low. Gets away, but that is a Baron for free. They get out completely scot-free. They're going to teleport in to try and block the wave, block this tower from going down. But they may have overcommitted. Tower will fall. That's an excited Jinx. Just going to run away.
Yeah, just gonna run away. But it's the Baron for side of SGB. I mean, in the last few minutes, we have been quite kind of bad for them. That's just at least one decisive call that they really made to just go for this potential Baron flip. I mean, if you are losing control of the game, might as well try it, right? And they actually did a decent job of really getting Fukwon out of the pit. And in this Baron River, it was just also such a good setup for Taki and his hostile takeover. So there was no chance for Team Flash to really chase into them too much. If they would do so, put in with the way and how fat he really is right now, could just destroy his own team in those few seconds. So no chance to really chase into Taki over there. So Saigon Buffalo, within the last few bad minutes, it is one good play for them. So it rewards them the Baron and potentially also the Soul later on, and they should keep this Baron up in the next few minutes to really play on the Soul. So they should have mid lane priority, bot lane priority also on their way, and good positioning, good vision control to get this Soul. And I gotta say, if they get the Soul, no matter how the scaling really pans out, if it goes super late game, I don't really care. The Ocean Soul should be game winning for them, as these failures won't just get one shot by anyone on the side of Team Flash's team.
Ocean Soul on Scion and Cassante feels like that's a lot. I feel if that comes through, we're gonna have to start seeing some of these grievous wounds items start to come through. But now we're just seeing lots of weight pressure coming through. As you said, they control mid lane, they control bot lane, and with these in hand, they should be able to secure the dragon when it's up in just under a minute. Puddin was gonna do his best. He has decent wave clear, and that should stop an inhibitor from falling without a committed push. But the dragon is the true reward. Will Team Flash even be able to make their way in to contest it? Resets are coming on through from SGB to make themselves as strong as possible for a fight around it.
And I think you kind of see with SGB that they don't really try to have any sort of fight beforehand. I mean, they don't even go for an inhibitor push, which would be beneficial to get this whole map control really going, but they think anything that could go wrong would be a 5v5 fight against this Jinx that might just get excited, so just go for less instead, and just just try to fight on their own terms. But Team Flash, with the resets coming out, now have surprisingly good positioning, but SGB should still be able to force them out here.
They found a good pick onto Puddin's Flash. Fargi ult down, so is Guri's. But they just need to get the Talia in. They just need to steal it. Hostile takeover going over doesn't do all that much onto Puddin. And now they just need this dragon. Huge Inferno Mult, but it doesn't matter. The dragon goes down, and it's kicking off Depth Charge across 4. Now Jinx is excited. She is tearing up everyone. Shogun in the backline, though, so the fight will go to the side of Buffalo. They lose the dragon, but they have the fight. They can try and make their way into the inhibitors. Fook is going to slowly recover to full health, but he is not going to do anything from there.
Team Flash denying the zone, but maybe it just costs them the game straight up as Shogun really pops up in this fight. Jinx gets excited, but also doesn't have the position to really deal with Shogun's damage anymore. This now being the push for the side of second Buffalo, with them getting a 3-for-1 in this fight. They at least rushed on one inhibitor turret, and they still have this wave going. They want to finish this game right here, right now.
There goes the Shirelius now. Fook is up, so is Sora. They have a decent engage, but Jane jumps right over the Unraveled Earth and will get popped immediately. Harsmed takes that kill. Shogun are bailed out, but they don't have the wave, so they may not be able to continue. Shogun wants to get another kill on his exit, but he's not going to get that. The game continues.
Yeah, Rocket almost killing them, at least denying the recoils. Either way, I think Team Flash might just be fine with it, as here we see this fight again, with the Drake being rushed on by the side of Team Flash. They just know, want to abuse that they have a little bit of position constant takeover, hitting but not really doing too much over there, as this Drake just now gets pulled and pulled again by Team Flash. They rush it down, get the kill. Shogun's Infernum ultimate. So insane. That Moonlight Vigil might just be something that, in the end of the day, really nets them this game win, but they just get this 3-for-1 fight with that one going. But I wonder if Flash is fine with it, because they didn't lose the game over that, and now, on their own right, have this sole win condition on the next Drake. And this, in general, not really game losing for them, but losing the bot lane inhibitor and also losing this Nexus turret means one hell of a Baron setup for the side of SGB. Shogun is just
1v9.
It's over 9,000.
It's a 1v9. It's got Kakarot down there on the bot side. Just doing a lot of damage. It's not full 1v9. Of course, the tanks are doing their duty, but man, that is a lot of damage from that Aphelios.
Now Yoshino needs to defend his supers far away from the Baron pit. Of course, he has TPs, so it's not the end of the day for the side of Team Flash, but Hagen Buffalo should have a very easy way to secure this Baron in general.
Why has Putin built a Stormraiser and not, say, a Bloodthirster?
That's a very good question, and
or a Guardian Angel,
I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble.
I'm sorry, I fundamentally refuse to believe that this item is real. Stormraiser isn't an item, you should not be buying it, because it's not real. Baron is going to be started up again. Can Flash make it happen? The teleport coming in from Yoshino, but this Baron might just be gone before the fight kicks off. Froggy taking a little bit of damage. Moonlight Vigil will whiff completely, but can Flash win the fight? They need to win the fight if they want to get away with it, but they can't. They can't get anything. And now it's another Baron to Buffalo. Buffalo's objective setups have just been better.
Yeah, this just showing how they really can rush down this Baron, especially with the failures being there. And they force a TP from Husband and they from Yoshino, so to say. And still, Team Flash not really getting anything to write home about. Also losing this top lane tier 2 turret over there. And Team Flash can't also just push mid lane and just base races, because you can't base race against the Baron empowered SGB composition right now. So just now, Team Flash really needs to keep that cool and just hope that the next fight will be better. Gotta say, the Stormraiser on the Jinx doesn't really surprise me in a good way. I want to justify every item build I've seen for pro play. I mean, you just need to let the pros cook to some extent, but what does Stormraiser really do? I think it's a situational item on some Caitlyn and Jhin item builds, but what does the Jinx really do with it? I mean, you have this initial slow on the long range rocket auto attack, but is it really set up for anything on that team? I'm just not seeing it.
I guess it lets you self-peel a little bit better, but I don't see how just... I would think a Bloodthirster just to keep you alive would be
would just do more.
or get a Guardian Angel, or get a like lifeline item. I don't know.
Sold it for, I think, Hurricane, and that's a decent item.
That's better. Just AoE crits for days. Yeah, I'm all on board with that.
Yeah, just to track out AoE damage, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, Rocket comes through to check the dragon. Nothing started yet. And just spotting where SGB are there, just focused around the middle lane. Hook will not land, Glacial Prison will, but it's just onto Harsmed. So hard to get an engage going. There's the wall, and everyone just flashes over it. Yoshino is going to die. Shogun runs him down, and without this top laner, it's going to be so hard to win the fight. They just keep going. Infernum is huge again. Froggy is just chasing under these towers. Puddin has to get back to the fountain, has to recharge, but the Nexus now open. Towers available. They have to do something. They're raining in damage, but as long as Shogun lives, it's fine, and he just blows up Team Flash. He's gonna take it. He's gonna get his kills, and he's going to get their team the win. It's hard fought from both sides, but eventually Shogun carries him over the line.
Yeah, Shogun really carrying the lane, but I also gotta highlight Gui on this one. That's his Weaver's Fall was also a very excellent thing in this last team fight, especially in the early game. Also, he was one of the players that really stepped up, and he's a new player for the team. I mean, he definitely is making arguments to replace BJ, at least for now, I gotta say. And Saigon Buffalo having some wacky macro, especially like in this later mid game where they were like on soul point already, and Harsmith then just decided to just go 1v4 for no reason. But at the end of the day, Saigon Buffalo grabbing the first win, and I think if they would have lost that game, I mean, that would just be a very huge confidence breaker. And them winning this one is huge for them.
Yeah, we're sort of falling into I think if we end up seeing Shogun Buffalo fall into the raise the puppy type of team playstyle, if that's what they have to fall back to, that might work. But Flash, they were close. Do you want to see anything significant change in the draft for them, or?
I actually like the draft. I actually think I don't say it often as a caster, and I hate to say it, but I think they also kind of won draft, but they didn't execute the early game correctly, and they definitely were in a position where they were scaling well, and it should have worked in general, but they kind of failed to execute correctly in this later team fights. I mean, we have seen some item build that we were kind of questioning, especially like on Sejuani and the Jinx with the Warmogs and the Stormwazer respectively, and Team Flash. I mean, after 30 billion mark, you see it, right? The gold basically being even, and them being in position to really at least contest the SGB competition. They were winning the team fights at that point, and despite Shogun dealing that amount of damage, Puddin still almost kept up, I gotta say. And I think that the draft was something I was more than fine with. The execution, not so much.
Yeah, alright. Well, in that case, we will just be back for Game 2 in a little bit after this break. And don't go anywhere.
The night beckons while you dream. A life never lives in peace. As you stand upon the edge, woven by a single thread, and fate may fall down upon you, while the devil is knocking right at your door. So are you restless? Each night you hear the drums roar. Awaken, awaken, the voice begins to call you while you hunger. A taste of destiny you're searching for. Awaken, awaken, the fight is at your door. Take up the cause. strength to come back from the end of the road. This is your time, you're standing tall, you're electrified. You seize the moment, feel it coming, we are unified. When you believe you win this fight, let this moment shine, it's time to rise. Do you feel alive? We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down. We are giants. Stop for a moment, can you see? Nothing is broken, we are here. We found the strength to come back from the end of the world. This is our time, we're standing tall, we are unified. We seize the moment, feel it coming, we're electrified. When we believe we win this fight, let this moment shine, it's time to rise. We feel alive. We are giants. Nothing breaks us down.
welcome back. We just saw Team Saigon Buffalo. Yeah, we'll get there. Saigon Buffalo take down Team Flash in our first game of the night. And I'm Abanogi. This is Crancy. I'm pointing the wrong way again. Yeah. Well, that happened. It was back and forth game, but a little bit of better objective control won out the match for Saigon Buffalo. And Chrissy, game 2. What are you sort of hoping to see? Sort of a run back for Buffalo, or do you want to see them actually try and put faith in a different player than just Shogun, our Lord, please carry us?
I mean, now in hindsight, those 6 ADC bans kind of make more sense, right? I mean, also their failures first become up on the side of Shogun. I mean, just with Shogun performing like this, it actually kind of retroactively justifies what the hell happened in draft for the side of Team Flash. But I gotta say, do you really need to ban away 3 marksman champions and also 3 on the L side? I think that look kind of wrong to me. And maybe that's like where you could adapt if you want to adapt for the side of Team Flash. Jinx is also an AD carry in her own right that looked general mostly fine for the side of Puddin. He was definitely putting in the numbers there. And for game 2 now, Team Flash has side selection. I think they just could go and try to get blue side and at least like deny our failures or threaten to pick it away if Puddin is confident enough to do so. And I really hope he is, because if he isn't, then Shogun, despite maybe not even having a better split overall than the side of Puddin, he just could really edge it out just because he can play Aphelios and Puddin can't.
Yeah. I mean, I feel every AD carry can play Aphelios at this point. You'd hope, but I would like to see that. See where Shogun wants to go with it as well. As never mind, it's not going to be 6 AD carry bans. It's only going to be 5 because finally we're going to see the Talia hit the bench. Guri has looked fantastic on this champion. Granted, he's only played the whatever it's called, the Gragas otherwise, but it looked like a noticeable step down. So we're going to have to see what comes out from the side of SGB this time around. Is it going to be Jez Gragas again? Oh boy.
Looks to be the case, but the Gragas hasn't even looked that good. Right? He went 0-7 in one of those games, and yeah, the other one is a
Gragas
game
in
where he
general
played
has
against
looked pretty bad for the VCS. It's only really had anything good going for it in the mid lane.
Yeah, we just said earlier, right? That also was this top lane Gragas against Flex that also got absolutely destroyed by Yoshino of all players, and now Aphelios again for the side of Shogun. But I mean, this focus now has to be Guri, right? I mean, he looked fantastic on Talia and looked not so fantastic on anything else, and now he gets the second best pick, is what we would expect, and now he kind of has to perform, right? I mean, otherwise you won't replace BJ just by playing one champion very well. That's not how it works.
It's his second best pick in that it's his only other pick. I suppose hasn't played very many games for us quite yet, but I would like to see some variation. I don't think this Gragas should be landing in the mid lane. Puddin and Sora are going to run it back. I feel like you have the opportunity to just lock in a Graves,
Renata
is going to be, so the bot lanes are going to run it back completely fine.
Yeah,
with
bot
that.
lane worked. For side of SGB, they're very fine with that, with just locking Renata right here. I think Team Flash also, not really happy that they see this champion again. But yeah, for the side of Guri, right? I mean, he could just play anything else than Talia right now, and they just pick up the Gragas again, potentially flexing it. And that's what I'm saying, right? I mean, they could just run Hazmat Gragas or Froggy Gragas. I think Gragas actually kind of sounds like a Froggy champion to me for the mid lane, and it's just strong in general right now in the mid lane yet again. With now, top lane bans being focused against Yoshino, so potentially the blind pick for Hazmat on R4 for the side of SGB to just have a stabilizing top laner and just let bot lane carry again.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Scion come out again. That's been the champion we've seen a lot of success for Saigon Buffalo on, especially for Hazmat in the top side. And apparently now Froggy too. So if you lock this in, hey, there's still a lot of flexibility available for Saigon Buffalo to work with. And now, what are your tank busting options? Do you look for
Camille?
A Zane top or an Azir or something like that? Just something else that can really help beat down these tanks.
Please not Azir top lane. Either way, a Vayne top against Husband would be a banger for sure, but I think you could just play Camille, but then you probably get like Vargas top lane into the Camille, so it's not that easy to play out for her side, as Wise gets locked in first for the side of Team Flash. And yeah, no tank shredding options would be the name of the game, but when Fear get taken away, you could also pick Jax, but Yoshino has another comfort champion, and that would just be the Renekton version.
Yeah, Renekton could. I mean, we've seen it work in various situations. A Black Cleaver Rush can do a lot in the 1v1 matchup for sure, but yeah, that's going to be the lock-in. Very, very short range team fight aside from the Jinx, and it's going to be the Froggy. Yeah. Okay, Froggy Tristana is not bad. However, it means we are stuck with Guri on Gragas again, and that is something I'm a lot less excited for. God damn it! Gragas
yeah, poor
jungle
guy, right?
I'm getting annoyed, because Gragas is fine, but his worst role of the three is jungle, I have to say. Because you don't get to build Roa.
What you're trying to say, you know. Yeah.
I'd rather see him as a support.
Yeah, you could just go like Everforce or like Even Shroud or some shit, right? And regardless of that though, they have the Gragas pick right now, so what's really the solution for them? I would have liked Gragas into Renekton especially, so they maybe kind of sold it out on that regard, and now gotta say so, game 1 was decided by the 80 carries, and now second Buffalo is like, let's just pick 2 of them. I mean, 2 is better than 1, and yeah, with that, Gragas going to the jungle. Sion against Renekton is like one matchup also where Husband needs to stabilize. I mean, with Yoshino's Renekton playing as well as he played in the first 2 weeks, this might just not be that easy for the Sion to really hold his own and just not fall down 30-40 CS in those plates and maybe even get solo killed once or twice, which is what happened to Kiaya, and Husband now can maybe show Kiaya how it's really done.
Yeah, well, I feel this the Sion is going to be a little bit harder to solo kill. For sure. So that is good news for Hasmed, but I think this is going to be good, a nice strong option for the side of Yoshino. We're going to see how well he can utilize the pressure he will have in the top lane this game. Didn't really have that early prio on the Gwen. This time he will. And beyond that, we're going to have to see if Guri can once again do things, try and influence the early bot lane as he did on the Talia, but this time on the Gragas. So I'm going to see this go on, and this time, if Fook goes for the Warmogs, I am going to fly to Vietnam and break his keyboard, because you have double 80 carries. You have you need to be actually tanky to deal with auto attacks, not a squishy man who can maybe heal it up if you get lucky and get away.
Just rush Frozen hard to make Mabinogi happy. That's maybe one angle to work with these 80 carries.
Or
either way,
finish Sunfire! You know?
Yeah, or go Wenduin, so yeah, just actually build items, yeah.
Yeah, just go Mythic into Randuins and you'll be off to the bloody races, mate. It's
I think we can sum it up. Just go with Mythic. I think last game, I'm not sure if we ever finished a Mythic, so I don't remember this item too much. We went Barmy Cinder and sit on it like for like ever, and Sunfire isn't even a Mythic anymore, and Warmox is not one either, as you also need to finish Tier 2 boot at some point of the game. Either way, we just know Thor the Raptor start again for Goey. He did the same on the blue side in game 1, and now in game 2. Might just be his way to jungle his way from top to bot to just really play on his strong side bot lane yet again. I don't think it makes much sense to really get the side ahead against the Renekton. There's not really much happening over there.
Yeah, this time the Fook should be a smidgen faster, as the blue side is a little bit faster to clear than the red side of the jungle, as in buff side, so should be able to make his presence in the bot lane felt, though. As I say that, we are seeing Guri get straight ahead to skipping camps and early pressure from Froggy tracking this jungler, this Sejuani. So, still gonna have to wait and see how they play it out. I'm looking.
Yeah, I'm looking as well. As we saw in the first game, it was kind of a cheesy game for Gobi on the side of the bot lane. And this game, they might just know what's happening, and also now the early ward is being put there. Fukon is around the corner, so no gank opportunity for the side of Gobi. Also being very far pushed in, you would need to fight against a huge chunk from the minion wave itself. As Shogun gets to farm the wave under turret. But Froggy did a lot of damage to the Wise. Just also one thing, right? Tristana mid lane against Wise is such a good matchup for Tristana.
Yes, easy push, easy ability to outtrade, and you can keep the Rise locked in under tower, and that does so much to reduce his impact. Now we're seeing early runs from Sora as the back comes through from Puddin. And just gonna wait and see how the Saturn bot lane goes through without a hitch this time around. No ganks down there. And just waiting for the junglers to really make their first move. Yoshino crashing this wave. He's thinking about being cheeky, but he doesn't quite know where Guri is, so is not going to push this too far.
And Hasmet really respecting Yoshino there, right? Just being pushed in so far. Doesn't really want to make any risk. Is falling down a few CS, but that in the bigger scheme of things is basically more than fine. But the worst situation would just be like Yoshino freezing the wave close to his turret with the auto push coming away from Sion's AoE abilities and then just being threatening to run down the Sion and just solo kill him potentially over and over again. But this game, this seems not to be happening at all. Hasmet also being very fond of his HP bar. Just his mana bar is being exploited a little bit as Guri is recalling on a warded tri-brush. Team Flash not being that impressed by that one, I gotta say. And Puddin still being in a position to farm this wave, so might just be a little bit of a waste of time for Guri here.
Yeah, Go did cancel that recall just once, but so it will be a little bit more time wasted. He was able to sneak in a extra couple of scuttle crabs because of the time Fook spent paying attention to the bot lane and dissuading a potential early gank from Guri. So it's a small lead, but a stolen Raptor camp will bring it back to just about okay for the side of Fook. And now everything continues as normal, just junglers keeping up the farm, laners going head to head, small leads developing on the top side and bot side for each team respectively, but the early cull should alleviate that a little bit for Puddin as the time goes on.
Yeah, absolutely should. And it's kind of what I said before game one, right? It's kind of Yoshino being pulling ahead against the bot lane from Second Buffalo being pulling ahead, what really mattering more. In general, considering the meta, I would always favor the bot lane as top lane doesn't matter, that's just a fact. Either way, Ocean Drake early being pulled by the side of Second Buffalo with the priority being forced by the Aphelios guns. That's something that Jinx can't really contest, so yeah, first little reward claimed for the side of Second Buffalo. And this game also, they don't really need to be like very on the clock as they were in game one. This game, they are scaling quite fine into this game as they are pushing up for a potential dive from Guri. But Guri just deciding to pull away from that.
Yeah, I think the missing Jane in the mid lane dissuaded that somewhat, but now they know the bot lane, they know the jungler is on the bot side, so Yoshino feels very happy to just dirty farm in the top side, continue building up that advantage. It's not going to mean the much, as you said, but if he can keep the Sion down, if he can keep Hasmed pinned, can reduce the impact that he can have later on. Is that a good thing, or is that a bad thing for the side of Team Flash? We don't know. Hasmed has been known in this series to just give freebies over, so maybe you don't want to just let him stick under town.
I think
Maybe
it's
you
a
want to get
bad
him
thing,
involved.
actually. I think by proxy farming, it just allows the side to just farm next to the Renekton and just never be pressured by his trade pattern that Renekton really makes it hard to play against. And with that, they just kind of get the same farm and usually gets a tiny bit of chip damage onto the turret if Hasmet decides to let the wave crash onto this one, which is of course nice to have for the Renekton, but I think it's just not enough to really propel ahead of the enemy top laner to destroy the enemy bot lane later on. And Hasmet, who doesn't have a good game, just gets to farm.
And look at Hasmed right now. He is working his way down into the bot lane. He's looking for a lane gank. Has that teleport available to respond to the top side, regardless of result. Here
ult.
Comes the train. He will not land it. He doesn't get stunned up on the tower either, but it's a flash force from Puddin. And he just gets to teleport into the top side. A plate will be taken most likely, but that seems fine. A flash for a plate. Bit of gold lost, but hello, someone stepped too far forward. Rune Prison into the Glacial Prison.
He lives.
He lives. He gets to jump away. Not quite enough damage coming out early at this point for Jane on this rise. Only mana items built. No AP to speak of.
Still nice attempt for the side of Jane and Pukwan over there. Just getting the flash, also chunking Foggy down so far, so he needs to reset just a little bit of time and XP and gold 1 on their side. As Hasmet trades some minion waves and 1 plating and both of his summoner spells, or at least one of those. And his ultimate for just a flash from Puddin. I mean, if Shogun plays like game 1, this might just be worth it. As here on the sign, he's fine not taking that many resources. I mean, he's of course nice to have, especially with the Soul Furnace passive stack, just enabling him to have this insane HP pool. But I mean, he's on Bami Cinder, he's on some cloth armors. He won't just instantly die to Yoshino, but who might just die is Puddin.
From Taki, they commit everything they burn the cleanse from Pudding, but that's a lot burnt. It's a cleanse, it's a flash, and an ignite, and it's only Puddin's cleanse being burnt in return. So I'm not sure that was the call, that was the play to go. And I guess it's more pressure, and this makes it harder for this inevitable this reattempt. They're gonna get spotted out on a vision ward, and Flash could just back off. They're gonna try and clear the wave with the rockets best they can. Jane is on the roam, has that realm ward, brother. Sora's just gonna take a few autos, and all is well.
Yeah, just taking some laughter from his own AD carry. Yeah, with Terror Trade for that. And I think that's not good for second Buffalo. When they roamed 2 members up down to the bot lane just to not make a play happen over there, not even the plating being taken so far. Explosive cast. Okay. And this is all just to get some plates. And they just get 1, but so much time invested for it. I think getting the Herald on the other side is definitely more beneficial to the side of Team Flash. And Jane and Foggy trading. If the Wise gets to play in the range of Tristana, it's just not good for Tristana again. I mean, she kind of works against the Wise because she outranges him, and if Wise actually manages to get close to her, it's not looking that easy for Tristana anymore.
This time around, Husband is going to be forced to ult away. They couldn't quite kill him. Yoshino has decided to not go for the lane priority, and okay, Flash have just ended this entirely. Red-white guns on Aphelios. He gets to melt this tower. They're trying to lane swap. You're going to have to teleport Yoshino in if you want any hope of this tower surviving. There you go. There it comes out now.
He actually walks halfway and then TPs. That's like the worst of both worlds, right? You lose a lot of time and still burn the TP cooldown for that, but that just means that they initially thought that walking up is fine for that one. Yoshino just now grabbing the wave, and he could potentially find a kill angle onto Shogun if he actually manages to slice and dice on top of him. But against a Severum Shogun, maybe not that good of a call, especially if he's still being shadowed by so many people.
He is gory and Taki. They're going to find a lot of damage onto Yoshino, but they can't keep him in place. No explosive cask. It does buy time. It buys enough time for the Rift Herald to come down and get putting that first turret gold, but it's just they're just trying to do so much. They're gonna commit something to Hasmid, but he's not gonna die because he's already tanky. He's built armor for that Sunfire Cape, and Saigon Buffalo on the bottom side are just in perfect position to take the dragon. It's just a complete fumble from Team Flash, in my opinion. Like, you got first
I wouldn't say
brick,
complete fumble.
It's not it's just traded.
Yeah, just for first brick difference, just to trade it for Drake. Also a charge on the second turret. Yeah, Hasmet is unkillable. No worry. Jane is there. Jane is there.
Jane is there. Okay, he's going to get that, but now Puddin is in danger. He's got to clean up this wave. You can't get the tower after it. That was a lot committed for 1 kill. Froggy's here, and he's a Tristana. He can break down a couple of plates, and that's the gold value straight back into the pocket of SGB. Yeah, this Scion is working out wonderfully, and it's not gone great. Yoshino is rushing his Gore Drinker. He wants to play frontline. He wants to play team fights. He is not concerned about cutting through Hasmed with a Black Cleaver rush. So it's
just dive onto Tristana, dive onto the side of the Ender AD carry in their failures at Yasmid. Eventually dies to 3 people committing to it. I mean, a lot of resources expended for the side of Team Flash. But I gotta say, in the bigger picture, I think we might just be a tad too harsh on Team Flash and a bit too nice with Saigon Buffalo. Remember, overall, it's still Flash with the gold lead. They got the first brick of this play, and it kind of looks, of course, silly as Yoshino's being funneled towards compared to an enemy ADC being funneled towards, and also Foggy not that unhappy about his enemy mid laner roaming away from him and him getting the plate money. And overall, there was resources looking quite greatly allocated for the side of Saigon Buffalo, with them taking 2 Drakes. But I mean, we have seen game 1, right? Saigon Buffalo taking 3 Drakes and then just fumbling the mid game. And Team Flash, They look okay. They don't look too awful.
I didn't even realize that was first blood onto Hasmed. So, yeah, there's a little bit of extra gold coming into the way of Puddin. He is currently, 20 CS behind, pretty far behind Shogun in that regard. But he has the first blood. He has the first brick gold in him thanks to that Rift Herald, and that's going to help him out a little bit. That's keeping him on pace with Shogun right now. Yoshino can't win this 1v1 with his current items, or rather lack thereof, compared to what Hasmed has. The Sunfire will just keep him safe. You can't burn him down. He gets to clean the wave, and it's just not quite working out for the Crocodile. Not going to have that pressure he really needs.
Yeah, 30 years ahead, but hasn't based, so yeah, just now finished the Godwinker by recalling and shopping, and if not even Yoshino's winning, it's looking very grim for Team Flash, but I mean, as you pointed out, there was actually just one kill in the whole game, right? The first blood going out towards Puddin, and with him being down so many CS, he's still probably like close to even in gold for the side of Shogun, and might just pull a little bit ahead if his cull is being cashed in, with the last 12 stacks being completed in a very short amount of time, very, very soon. And overall, I mean, the game kind of going to this lull stage where nothing's really happening. No Baron on the map, no platings on the map either, no Dragon on the map, as well as Saga and Buffalo have been very quick at getting those ones. Next one will be spawning in 50 seconds. No, I'm bullshitting. It's actually the Rift Herald. The next wave will spawn in 2 minutes. And maybe this second Herald will be something that those teams will fight over, as the Word of Ages from Jane is also starting to stack. I think Team Flash are okay with the way the game is going, and the Cull being cashed out now. Puddin will likely maybe get a reset right now to be ready for a potential Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, he gets the call. He's looking for the reset now. Should be able to come back with. Okay, has double long swords, not quite able to complete that Phantom Dancer. So still going for that full attack speed. Jinxes have been leaning towards getting this Zeal item second. The extra movement speed, the extra attack speed, synergizing with that minigun. It's working out, but it does mean, once again, for these fights, Hasmed is going to be a bit of a beefcake that's hard to get through. Doubly so with Yoshino not committing for the Black Cleaver to assist Pudding. It's going to come down to what Jane can do.
Oh, Froggy.
Looking for Froggy. If Froggy gets caught out, that signals a good start for the side of Team Flash. Currently have positioning on the Rift Herald and are starting it up.
Yeah, SGB can't take this Herald fight, I think, because I think Shogun must also sit on a lot of gold, right? He's almost even on gold to the side of Pull, and he hasn't shopped since his Gale Force back, basically, so he definitely does not want to fight right now, as Team Flash is grabbing away this Rift Herald. They didn't manage to catch Froggy on the top side, but that wasn't even their goal, is what I would assume, so that's a little bit of a win from their side. And maybe also just the Rift Herald to really cast it in like 30 seconds to have a distraction going on while the third Drake is spawning for the side of both of those teams. And SGB, of course, very, very eager to get this Drake rolling out. And this Rift Herald alone might just be that one range that can be thrown to the gears to stop it from happening.
Now, 30 seconds, 10 seconds even. It's 30 seconds when I last looked. But for this next Drake, it is only Gemtech. It is not the most impactful Drake in the world, which could be good news for Team Flash if they continue to let it go. Right now, it's fully Saigon's territory. They have wards set up. They have control over the river. Team Flash, they can cheat some pressure in the mid lane with this Rift Herald, but they're going to have to decide to use that soonish, or rather not. Yoshino looking for the flank. Is just in trouble. He's gone. That just CC'd into barrel, and that is just gonna signal goodnight to the dragon. They just walked in. They just walked in without vision.
He just face checked it. I mean, he thought he was tanky, but he's on Sejuani with components basically. So very easy pickup on the side of just a devastating charge. Just charged up in the brush by the side of Hasmed. Couldn't really see that one coming, and then just a barrel from Guri to really finish it off. And you are right in saying that this Chemtech Drake in general doesn't really mean much, but the stack for the soul, just so impactful. It's now soul point. Yeah, Sejuani. She looks tanky, but she just exploded like a squishy. It's like it's a soda support or some stuff.
They knew they were there. Anyway, Hook will land onto Shogun, but the Chompers will not be good. Flash forced from just the threat of the flash body slam coming out from Guri. Second hook will land. This time there should be a kill. It's going to happen. They're not going to be able to bail
No
out in
bailout.
time. It does get a kill in return, but luckily for Flash, they got him first. Okay.
I mean, that's still fine for sort of SGB, right? I mean, it looked like
yeah.
something that's mostly saddening, but trading 1-for-1 still okay for them. They got their soul point, which is exactly what they wanted. Gold lead for Team Flash is still there without 2K, but this game, SGB scaling much better by the numbers itself, I think, with them having this double AD carry composition and to sign in the top side against nothing that really outscaled it. There's-
Jay?
What? Jane died to the turret while finishing the turret. What? That's the advice. Maybe it was intentional. Maybe he saw Hasmet coming and something, and it was like, let's not give him kill gold. But I want to see a replay of that because we didn't see anything.
Like, he didn't have Realm Warp. It just came up, so yes, maybe it was, but yeah, okay. Jane trading 1-for-1 with the turret. That's a benefit for Team Flash because no one was around to get gold or experience. So that's all fine.
Definitely fine. I'm just
strange.
flabbergasted by it's just so absurd that it even can happen in a pro game.
Yeah.
In a way. You just died to turrets now.
But SGB just
Didn't you honestly focus?
grouping.
They just rush it?
Oh no,
No TP?
that was not good from Yoshino. They're gonna get some damage back onto Guri, but now Harsman just stands in front. Can Yoshino make that play into the backside? It's so hard to reach the angle. Taki can
SGB
keep
can
them
just
at
run.
bay.
Just
SGB
cross the
kill
turret and
tower.
walk away. Yeah. It's just
Uh,
one free
okay.
kill on the support, one turret. It's also mid lane outer turret, which is the most important turret concerning map control, especially around Drakes, and you play on Soul very, very soon. And also Yoshino's TP
Oh, and
for potential
now-
flank being
now
just
the
gone,
referral.
wasted.
now
That's
the
also
referral.
wasted.
That's
We
also
need to be-
wasted. Oh,
I mean, I said a few minutes ago that we were like maybe too harsh on Team Flash and too nice to SGB. I want to refute that one. We were not harsh enough on Team Flash. We need to be way harsher on them. And they do like those unnecessary mistakes. I mean, this
Yeah.
TP play, they get the executed play beforehand, and now Terrell not really finding any impact whatsoever. And Team Flash were fine in the game overall, but now I'm not so sure if they really are fine.
Okay, Team Flash still have a 2,000 gold lead. Well, okay, 1,000 gold lead. That's something to work with. They are still ahead on their AD carry. Their top laner, if he can get into a fight, can have a great impact. But there's just been Fook's decision making has just been a disaster ever since that third dragon. They picked up that Rift Herald and Fook's brain just disappeared. He's still struggling to put together that mythic. He can't find the gold. They're funneling it all onto Pudding, and they have pretty much neutered themselves and removed a player from the game. There's no gold for Sora. There's no gold for Fook. Jade is doing his best and getting some advantages on the side lane, but it's not really going to mean all that much unless they can actually find the fight. But they have no good angles. So it's all side lanes. Continuing for Team Flash.
Good angle would have been maybe a TP on a ward flank for Yoshino, but we know how his TP usage went earlier. Either way of that. I think like one thing that's going well for them is Jane is cycling against Foggy. I mean, Foggy just now looked kind of struggling, using his ultimate just to disengage it, and right now it seems to be the case that just Jane is pushing ahead of him, and his ward not really be completed, so he will create a large experience gap very, very soon. Those gold advantages for putting in Shogun. Right?
There we go.
They are just neck and neck with each other, 100 gold between those two, and they're both being funneled by their teams, looking very, very good. As I mean, in the
That's
item ability puppet, it looks very good for Puddin, but it's an Infinity Edge versus no Infinity Edge, so I'm not quite sure if I would favor him in the team fight in general. As the Soul Drake, potentially for SGB, spawns very soon, and Flash looking decently positioned for that one. That's the thing, right? I mean, SGB can afford to give one up. Team Flash absolutely can't.
Yeah, they can in the end, I mean, it's not the worst soul if you give it over, but you'd prefer to trade it for something good. In the end, it's actually just Flash going to say, or rather Buffalo going to say, you can have it, we want gold. We are completely fine giving you this dragon. We're going to get some gold onto Froggy on the top side, who is still sitting a little bit behind. He's been struggling a bit. And Team Flash just looking for something else. I think they want to try and find a fight, try and commit into something and get a real, tangible objective. This mid lane tower still holding them at bay because they weren't able to use the Rift Herald on it. They haven't been able to win a fight around it.
I'm genuinely surprised though, just how passive SGB was just now. I mean, I think they were like on power spikes mostly than not, and they just had Soul Point right up there, and they just traded for a tier 1 turret in the top lane. I think that's not enough. I think they could have got way more out of this one, at least like maybe even try to rush down the Baron in the time and force a reaction out of Team Flash, but they just kind of gave away the Drake for a little bit of gold, and this just to me tells that they are quite fine in scaling to this game, as the reluctant from Yoshino will fall off eventually against the sign from Hasmed. And on the side of Guri, I gotta retake this point from Draft on. It's the second best champion. He looked awful on Gragas beforehand, but this game he looks kind of fine, right? I mean, he got the full AP Night Harvester build, is up. He's the better jungler this game so far, I think that's what we can tell. And he's a single AP threat here just now, how far he can really chunk down those members.
Just a barrel, just to sort of keep Flash on their toes. Should be up by the time there's a major engagement. However, I guess in theory, if Flash really wanted to push the pace, they could take this as a way to start up the Baron, be like, okay, you're missing a major cooldown. We can try and threaten something. They're not going to. They are just funneling Jane. They just want to keep Jane on the side lane. Keep him pressuring up against Hasmed in particular if they can get it to land that way. And just keep crashing, keep trying to make SGB have as small a map as possible, despite the difficulties they currently face trying to actually make that effective with this mid lane tower. And just grouping, just trying to make sure they know what Buffalo are doing, drag them around, and maybe try and control an objective.
Yeah, that looks to be the case of the next minutes with them just shoving waves next to each other. Currently on the item spikes, I mean, we just see Shogun, also going for his not Dominic's regards in his own regard, so he really trying to match whatever Puddin is really putting to the table on the other side. As we see from Fuquan some adaptation, right? He actually ran the Mythic this game, he's on the Radiant Virtue, so no more Warmox for him. Maybe he was listening into the VCS English cast and just heard all of those Mabinogi anti-Warmox rants, but either way. Jane also finishing his ward. He's up a full level on Froggy right now, and this might just be one spike for Team Flash to really win the next team fights, if there happen to be some. Because right now, SGB maybe kind of gnawing this one and just avoiding team fights as good as possible, as long as maybe Froggy is level 16 or something, because with every level he gets a little bit of range due to his draw or beat passive, and I think that might just be their approach, that they just outscale in this competition and they want to play as risk averse as possible, with them getting the first 3 Drakes, maybe even give up one or maybe even 2 Drakes to just get more minutes under the belt, more levels for the side of Froggy, more gold, or to both of the AD carries to really play out these 5v5 team fights later on.
Yeah, and this win, I feel you can feel sort of the pressure for SGB. They're up 1-0. They can get their first win on the board. I think ever since the Secret game, that first series, they have always been down the first game. The pressure has got to them in game 3s. Maybe the pressure is starting to get to them in game 2 because they're just waiting. They're just really desperate to get that win. Now everyone's starting to group. It's 5v5 in the mid lane. Bit of a handshake that'll pop the passive from Fuquan, make him a lot squishier if the fight continues. He is Gory on a wraparound. Engage from Froggy, but it's all onto Fuquan. The hook lands onto Shogun, but the hostile takeover will mean there's no good follow-up. Froggy is going in. They've killed Sora. The team is scattered from Flash, and now here's Guri. He still has his ultimate. They completely delete Puddin. Yoshino is doing his best, so is Jane, but it doesn't matter. The fight is clean. 5-0. They're going to run down this mid lane, pick up the tower, and they can fall straight back to whichever objective they desire.
I think the Nexus is a key objective here, because it was a 5-4-0 in the mid lane. They have demolished, they have 2 AD carries. This should be the game right here, right now for them.
They have 1 AD carry.
I wanted to praise Froggy so much because his teammate was stellar for him. Rocket jumping in when it looked questionable, getting the kill instantly, getting the reset, backline diving with his second rocket jump to kill Puddin. But here, this might just not be the game. And but just still soul. I mean, at the end of the day, probably still the game for them. But Froggy, I wanted to praise it so much, and here we see again how it played out. Yeah, slowly encrypting hostile takeover coming in. Yeah, and then Froggy here with the first rocket jump to the side, kills Sora quickly, and here Aphelios damage really sweeping through all the members of the Infernum. Next jump in, he killed the enemy ADC. So it's 2 for 0 in ADCs. Yoshino just getting bouncy casted a little bit. And as now the Soul Gate is taken by SGB. Baron Rush attempt by Team Flash, but Gui's in the area, and that's a blast plant. It's a Gragas. It's so dangerous.
He doesn't get it. Okay, Puddin is now excited, but he's just putting damage into Harsmed. That's not really going to do all that much. They get Gui.
Froggy's ending.
He's done so much. The rocket missed. Froggy is in the mid wave, but the Baron recalls will mean he can't end the game. That is Baron for the side of Team Flash. They get a kill as well on the exit. Now, can they put it to use and recover this game?
I don't think they can, but I gotta say, I don't want to flame them for this play in particular, because you lose the game anyway if you just do nothing. They try to do something. They go for this. Yeah, they go for the Baron flip, they win the Baron flip, and they also get 1 kill on the backside, so they at least have something to work with, right? At least this Baron push that they will have for the next few minutes onto all 5 members. They play against Chemdex, which will be very, very rough in general, but at least now they can at least work with this push, get some gold in, and have like some silver lining in this game to really have for themselves going. Otherwise, they would have just been an outscaled team against Chemsoul, and that would not be nice to fight against either way. So, really good attempt by them to get this Baron flip for them, and in general, I mean, just like the Cerberus game 1 they played earlier in last week, those plays kind of just make them win games that they otherwise would never be able to win.
Yeah, Chemtexol has been... We'll give SGB that advantage. It'll make getting Shogun a little bit harder and make the team fights a little bit harder for the Flash. But it's definitely not a Soul that can't be overcome if you get a strong gold lead. They've picked up 2.5k from this Baron so far. Picked up 2 mid lane towers. They've had great control of the side lane so far, and now with the mid lane down, they can maybe control the map. When Elder spawns in 3 minutes, maybe they can find that angle they really need. But they're going to keep continuing to push. Froggy is now on the top side, just pushing. He's trying to control that while the 4-1 is played out by Team Flash. I say 4-1, they're just playing 5 in 1 lane. They are not caring at all, and this is just lots of pressure going for the side of Team of Buffalo. They're trying to make something happen. Hook, Hex Flash. Missed.
SGB can't fight 4v5 here, even despite them having the Chem Soul. I mean, you play against a Baron power team, and Froggy is missing from the team fight, but as long as they can delay the backs from Team Flash, Froggy can just push whatever he wants, and he will at least take another inhibitor to it.
And because of the scatter, they delay their engage. They find Yoshino. They're still gonna get the tower in the bot side, but they get an exit kill as well. Well played from Buffalo, and this is a fast Gragas. Sears chasing down Fook. Can't quite get anything else, but now that's so much done. And here, they just wait for Pudding to leave and then fully commit. They have Yoshino on the ward and just take him down.
Team Flash just gathered, right? I mean, their hand was forced, they needed to recall, but they weren't really recalling together, and some could be stopped, some couldn't. So Yoshino, at the end of the day, really falling as a sacrifice to that one. And with this, Sagan Buffalo repelling, the damage being done by the side of this Baron empowered push for the side of Team Flash. So now it's just them having Soul and Team Flash having nothing on their side to return it. At the end of the day, the overall gold also slightly in SGB's favor, as 1k one way or the other doesn't really do anything if we are being completely honest. Their scaling kicked in for sure. They have the Soul on their hand. This should just be, within the next minutes, them really forcing the win here, especially with mid lane super swing from their side, making it even easier for them to pressure the base or the Elder, which would spawn in 2 minutes.
Alright, I'm gonna just have to say, people are gonna have to start banning Scion against SGB, because this is the only thing Harsmed looks decent on so far this split. And I mean, it's flexible as well. Froggy can play it. I think you kind of just have to start removing it. Harsmed has been so much more useful in this game than in game 1 on the Cassante. Just looked out of sorts, but here he just can insta clear a wave, and his tendency to overgroup does not hurt him like it does on an Ornn. I think this is it. I think they found the Harsmed. They found the Harsmed fix.
They might just do with this Scion being put to his side. Kind of like Cerberus does with Pan usually, right? Just putting him on the weak side tank and just hoping nothing really goes wrong on their side. And so far it's working out. Froggy now, he just jumped into Lecton.
Damage. Yeah, he has so much damage. But now Rise is here. It's insane. Okay. it was a lot of damage early. He has the armor shred, he has the grievous wounds, he has the crit multiplier with the Navori, but he can't burn through Yoshino. Not through the
Not-
Randuins. And Jane,
Not quick
of
enough
course.
for Jane to arrive, yeah.
Yeah.
And very overzealous, as he just now goes for a second Zeal item, when very much in character for him. It might just be a
First
good
item.
death in that sense that his death timer is not aligning too wrongly with Baron and Elder spawning. But Baron and Elder spawn,
Oh, the hook lands,
Is it
and
time?
that's a Sonya's coming out from Guri. He's going to survive, and that's Sora down instead. That will not be as great for the Elder Spawn. That's coming late, and he doesn't have a teleport like Froggy, so that will actually backfire horribly. Now it is the shattered stopwatch that will impact something. If they catch Guri out again, can't get away from it. They're gonna try onto
Hasmed.
Hasmed. He takes no damage.
Foggy TPs.
Froggy.
Foggy TP to bot lane, by the way.
Yeah,
This could have
Froggy's
gone
here.
very, very wrong if Flash insta for the fight, but this is Elder being down now. And it's 5v4 for SGB.
Fruit
They
has
have to
to
soul
steal
anyway.
this. Alright, now Froggy's
Hasmed
going
taking
in.
very much
He's got
damage.
the bailout on him. He's going to fall down. He's not going to get away. Hasmed
no,
is low.
Froggy.
Now there is a realm warp. Nobody's going to take it. Fook does not steal it. Elder Dragon to the side of SGB, and now they're running them down. Jane is so low. Hasmed got out on a sliver, and now Yoshino has to try and get something, but the handshake will mean he can't get anything back. They keep Taki alive, and the Elder Dragon does it all. Jane is pushing the mid lane. Maybe he can get an inhibitor tower to work with, but there's no wave. They just have to
SGB
back.
can just threaten to end, and
just
then Jane
running
just has
it.
to back. And I think this might just not be enough. I mean, it's still like Cam Soul empowered SGB with the Elder as well on 4 members. Lucky hand by the side of Guri to really get his Elder Smite secure, because Froggy has been running it down quite literally. I mean, he plays Tristana like he's Malphite and just rocket jumps into 5 members with Dragon and Wailord. But this might just be the final push, SGB's first win of the split.
Yeah, Sora just got caught. Jane as well. He just has to run away from Shogun. He can't finish him off and get the back exit kill. Okay, hello, Fu. Can you get anything done? No, they just have to hit the towers. Shogun is so low. Just pudding is up. Rocket, can that come through? He can kill. He gets him into the
He's in GA.
That man is dead. That man is so dead. That's it. Nexus defended. Now Yoshino is up.
And-
Jane is coming up
and I want-
soon. Can they teleport to Baron?
They might just be able to. Shogun is not alive. Froggy has no TP if he wants to
Ooh.
go.
Guri does
You
so
are-
much damage! He just insta-gives Fuguan, still has the Elder buff as well, so that's just even more so. That might stop a Baron attempt with Froggy and Guri alive. Taki is now also respawning, as well as Hasman. That means there's no Baron.
Yeah, here we see the Elder fight again, and yeah, I really want to criticize Froggy. Yeah, you are not tactical, you are not Malphite, or when you play Tristana, you have the bailout, but that's ultimately not enough. He still dies in 2 seconds. When he has 2 health bars, but they still get eradicated in 2 seconds. Well up in the backline. His head have gone horrendously wrong for the side of SGB, but yeah, you just managed to secure the Elder fast enough, and with Elder you win any team fight, no matter how you really play it. Gory finds the backline access ontowards the Jinx, as he did very soon afterwards with the finishing push coming in, and here we see how Yoshino just gets cleaned up,
Okay.
and Goi's hero play right now might have just netted them the win once again for the side of SGB. They play very, very loosely with their leads, I gotta say, in general, and they just know, kind of almost got aced by ending, and the Elder even being somewhat close to a flip is very, very terrible for them.
It's a
But
much,
Guri on the Squagas,
much
this game he
better
performs.
performance from Guri,
Yes.
stepping it up after that last series against SPTC Esports. Now Puddin is up. There is a Baron. There's no Elder to contend with, so fights. So if they play it right, Team Flash can still pull this back, but it's so difficult. There's only a couple of towers for Buffalo to destroy. Then they can set up 3 inhibs and an
I
open
think
nexus.
Elder about to expire, but not that it matters much.
Oh, Elder's gone. Elder's gone by this point. But it doesn't matter. They have the Baron. They have the push.
And the Nexus is
Red
literally
flashing.
naked right now. Super minions streaming to the Nexus. They need to be defended right away by the side of Team Flash. Otherwise, they just finish the game on their own, and this should just be SGB's finishing
Charlie's
push right
top.
here.
The hook lands, but it's not what they want. The the Glacial Prison goes through, but the charge comes in from Hussman. They're pushing Jay now. Jane is so low, but so is Froggy. But he can back, he can recall, he can teleport in. And now he's teleporting into the mid lane. They have 2 waves of minions to push in. Open Nexus. They have to kill everyone. Does Team Flash? They go onto Hussman. They don't do anything.
Boom.
Sora just explodes. And can they get anything done? Jane is going to be soloed out by Froggy on the top side. It doesn't matter. He leaves that alone and goes to kill the Nexus. Froggy will die, but that's all Team Flash are going to get. And my goodness, Guri steps it up huge in the second game on the Gragas. And SGB find their first win of the split.
Yeah, one way
Whew.
to really tell it. We maybe flamed Guri's Gragas a bit too much, as he just now definitely
I don't
had
know.
some little bit of
It was
personal
really
redemption in the second game.
on Sunday.
Yeah. The expectations were set basically, and he just now had this little bit of a comeback, so to say. I mean, in both games, I think next to Shogun, he was like the best player on the team overall, I would say. Maybe even Taki making some arguments for himself. I would have made some for Foggy, but then he kind of refused to get any credit by having 2 very, very questionable rocket jumps going forward into the team of Team Flash. But gotta say, overall, Sagan Buffalo, I was confident in them. To some extent, rightfully so. To some extent, not so much. They definitely still look shaky, even in those wins. But even a shaky win is a win at the end of the day. So, yeah, 2-0 for them. Their first match score on the board. And they now equalize Team Flash for now.
Yeah, two more wins. Where are words? First series win. That's what they want. And we see just across the board, lots of damage coming out from the team. And Flash had a good run of it. They had a good stretch through the mid game where they were achieving a decent amount in the gold, but the map play, it was a lot through the side lanes that they were finding it, and not through the objectives. Once again, SGB's objective control really winning them out this game. You can see where the spikes came through, where the fights were around these major objectives that won out SGB victory.
Absolutely, and I mean, even this small gold hit from side of Flash, what we see here, 2.9k, it's kind of misleading, as that was that time where Sagan Buffalo not only were like the weaker early game team, but they also still, despite being that, still got the first 2 Drakes, and ultimately, they never really dropped much control of this game in the bigger scheme of things. And the worst part was maybe like this one team fight mishaps where it was like, Froggy really stepping into the Necton and just not being able to finish him as soon as Jane was there. But that was when they already had the soul, basically. It was just a few hiccups when they were a bit too overzealous, a bit too hyphy maybe even. And at the end of the day, not the cleanest win, not at all, but it is a win. And I think Sagan Buffalo can start to work forward from this point out. And Guri, I gotta say, he's making arguments to be the starting jungler for now.
Yeah, absolutely. He's turned around his performance on the more gank-heavy junglers. I suppose there's still only the 2 junglers that have been shown so far, but I feel that this Guri actually showing promise means that hopefully BJ will have a fire lit, and we'll see those 2 junglers try and contend for that spot, and hopefully good things come out of it. I'm usually not so hot on swapping junglers, so maybe we're just going to stick with Guri, and that's fine. But it does feel sad to not see BJ, who has been a big part of Buffalo's success in the past. But that's enough about them. They did great. They have their win. They have a rough schedule ahead. They still have Gum and Wales to face in the first round robin. So on to Flash. We saw glimpses, but I think this is probably easily their worst series so far. Is the magic over? Is the honeymoon over for this newish roster? Or
That's
just
what
bad day?
That's what I'm afraid of, because I mean, despite their magic being there, they were still like 1-3 in the match score, but it still wasn't looking too good for them, and now they just lost to a very much struggling Sagan Buffalo, and might just be them looking good in losses, and that's all there's to write home about. Garnet Theater, I think their second of schedule must be a bit easier, as they already played Cerberus and Garm and just lost Sagan Buffalo. They would probably still play Box, if I remember correctly, and they also play other bottom
Box,
tier teams.
SBTC, and
So
Wales. My left.
So it shouldn't be that doomed for them in general. I gotta say, I mean, SBTC and Wales look far from weak teams in general. So it's just with a very competitive VCS split, despite Team Flash improving a lot, it could just not be enough.
Yeah, I feel like our expectations were fairly low for Flash to begin with. But if they find themselves around that 5th, 6th spot, I think they can walk away fairly happy. As long as they avoid the relegation. That's really what we're hoping for Team Flash, and I think that's all they should really be expecting for this first split, especially with how good Wales and Cerberus are looking at the moment. Speaking of those two teams, they will be our next match in the fight for second.
They absolutely will. Team Wales against Cerberus. I mean, that's one hell of a game, right? It's kind of just like this game, evenly matched, but on the other side of the table, basically. So it will just be like this game just now was maybe like the opening teaser, and we get the full movie later on.
Yeah, we saw Ego come in. Killer Queen is not quite as much of a menace as he used to be in terms of just sprinting it down for red buff. Now that he has B as the puppet master, I am very excited for this matchup. And we will get to that one after the break.